Hello and welcome to SuperCoach Edge for the round 16 review and round 17 preview. And it was like a breath of fresh air, with many enjoying a high-scoring week, courtesy of most premos exceeding expectations and projections across the board, led by Merrett's weekly high score of 168. Many, like both of us, Liam, enjoyed Neale's 143 with the VC, which we promptly locked in, and that set the tone for the rest of the round. And it's a round that didn't come without its usual issues, though, with Yo ruled out heading into the weekend with yet another injury, and we pondered as to how long it would take for the other walking injury in Nat Fyfe to be ruled out. Well, it didn't take long, with him being subbed out of the weekend's game and news now coming through that he has re-injured his plantar fascia ailment that I guess he was suffering from earlier in the year. But we can't say that we didn't warn you all to stay away from him, and we hope you listened. But Liam, I know you were awfully tempted by him. Were you not? Fleetingly?
Yes, very tempted. I was, as I said, ready to be hurt again. And I would have been had I gone for him. It really shows you Nat Fyfe is on my never again list. And this shows you why.
Yep.
He's right to be there. He's right to be there.
He has every right to be there.
Exactly.
And we'll show a clip shortly as well when we discuss Nat Fyfe in the trade segment. And it's kind of a bit eerie. I think we must have had the crystal ball, the SuperCoach Edge crystal ball, patented crystal ball, of course, out on the desk when we actually prophesized that he was going to re-injure himself. And Liam, you mentioned the plantar fascia, which is now the issue. So it was very much a prophecy. Well, Liam, where can the crew, before we get into things, find us across our socials?
Yes, if you're not following us on social media, where we post all the latest news, the post-match SuperCoach scores, and of course the odd meme or two, you can do so via Twitter at @SuperCoach_Edge, at JamAJ88 for Damon, myself at Liam Evans _95, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, search SuperCoach Edge, and you'll find us there. And actually, if you're not already listening to the podcast on YouTube, so you're not watching us, you might want to this episode, because we've got a nice little visual
treat
segment. Yes, a treat, you could call it that. Coming up later in the episode, and it's just not going to work if you're having to listen to it. So jump across to YouTube if you can, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you are heading there.
Yeah, we won't give it away as to what it is, but you probably realize if you are an avid listener or watcher of our podcast, you'll know what's coming up, because we did give it a little bit of a preview last week. We just didn't know as to when it was going to happen, but alas, it did happen, Liam. But they'll just have to wait and find out what it is. But until then, let's jump straight into it by kicking things off with our usual recap in the good, the bad,
good, the bad, and the ugly. We roll through some of the more notable and the more forgettable performances across this round of SuperCoach, and we touch on how our own teams performed in our head-to-head rivalry. Cutting it short. I'm not talking about the ultimate supremacy that we wrestled for, because it's only between the two of us.
I wasn't even watching them because I didn't have your camera on screen, and I was highlighting, you would have seen it there on the run sheet. I was highlighting ultimate supremacy because it's always a good gag. And then when you stopped short, I was like, what happened? Did you disconnect?
I'm just refusing.
Okay. Yeah. We're still, I think we're still wrestling for the ultimate supremacy. A protest. Yeah. Let's kick it off with the good, and it is in the form of Zachary Merrett. So Mez, as I'll call him for short, went absolutely bananas. I don't know if that's his nickname, but I'll call him that. So he went absolutely bananas, scoring the highest weekly score, as you mentioned, from the top of 168 from 31 disposals in a cracking display against Port Adelaide. Unfortunate that your mob and the Dons couldn't get the chocolates, but it was a great performance by Mez.
Agreed entirely. Moving on to the bad, we've got Rory Laird. Rory, it's hip to be squared, was anything but hip. Anything but hip. He disappointed owners, especially myself, and those that put the C on him, only for him to deliver an insipid 84 against soft opposition. I will say, though, North isn't a bad midfield.
No, that's true.
Like, probably not an easy, not the easy midfield to score against, not like the Eagles.
Who concede points like everywhere,
Sorry.
even on the bench.
I think the only place they don't concede the most points is like is the wing for some reason.
Yeah, wing defense. Yeah,
it's the weirdest. True. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but still, you'd think. I mean, Adelaide in half decent form. You'd think, and especially with Rory Laird coming off the big game and Dawson as well, that it would have
equated to more, but no.
Yeah, dividends, but no, wasn't to be. Bloody hip to be squared. That's a really apt reference because it's a song that's featured in American Psycho, Huey Lewis and the News, and that's what a lot of, I think, the owners that put the C on him would have been thinking about the old American Psycho going crazy. But let's round it out with the ugly in the form of Darcy Cameron. So D-Cam, he punched out an equal season low of 61, all despite having the outright lion's share of the ruck with 63% ruck attendances. He did, however, get monstered in the ruck by Wits and was largely ineffective with his hitouts, all whilst having just 77 metres gained, which, for perspective, is virtually the distance from the edge of the square to the goal square in length. So that's the amount of metres gained that he's had. Wow. So, yeah, not really much in terms of, positive ground that his possessions were giving Collingwood. But, it was really strange. I think it is hard to score against the likes of Wits, who's a premier ruckman, but still, you'd be expecting a little bit more from D-Cam.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed entirely. Not what you want to see. 61 sort of was almost a salvage score, though. Like, he was on, 10 at quarter time or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Not that 61's great, but at least it wasn't 40. Anyway, Damon.
Boys.
How'd you go this week?
Yes. I actually had one of my best rounds in recent memory, or at least those on record dating back to 2014 in the back end of SuperCoach, where it ranks all your history. And I ended up scoring my third highest score of my SuperCoach career with a mammoth 2,617. It was better, however, with 2,626 before scaling kicked in for the last game. So the scorers had to ruin an even better score, but also one that worked well with the consecutive digits that look so perfect. Thanks for that, champion data. Always ruining things. But in terms of trades, I just did the one putting my 200K in the bank to good use by upgrading Weddle to the doctor. I was in need of a doctor, and boy, did he prescribe some absolute juice for me on field. He tore it up playing his usual high halfback flank role, taking intercepts and then drifting up to the wing at various stages and even kicking a goal. It was very, I think, reminiscent of Dacos's role at the Pies. He was pretty much everywhere. It almost looked as though he was playing in the midfield, but I had a look at his CBAs and he had a grand total of 0. So he was actually pushing up to the wing and he was almost like an extra man in the engine room without being a ruck rover or a rover. He was like on the outskirts of I guess the ruck contest. So it kind of fooled me, but he was largely unopposed as well, took intercept marks, all that sort of stuff. So looked really good. Happy with that as a trade-in. And I guess many opted for Ryan as well, but the doubts that I spoke of him last week over his role, and we both did as well, being switched from being an unaccountable defender to being an accountable defender, that was on full display on the weekend against the Dogs, where he scored around 50-odd to quarter time in a loose roll off Rory Lobb, only to then be switched to playing an accountable game on Ugle-Hagan. And he then went on to score just 98 for the entirety of the match. But I must say at quarter time, I was thinking to myself, maybe I've made the mistake. Maybe I've made the wrong choice here and I should have gone for Ryan. But as it goes to show, the homework does pay off some of the time. But D-Cam and Taranto were my only real letdowns, I think, across my team. But the bow will well and truly be put on my team heading into the weekend with the inclusion of Mills finalising my team as the final sort of upgrade, now with a full complement of premos. So it's like that meme. It feels good, man. It feels good for now anyway, until injury strikes, suspensions, all that sort of stuff. But I'll just relish as it is at the moment. But what about you, Liam? How'd you go?
Yeah, I but not too badly. 2,539 this week.
Very nice.
Which did see me go up in the rankings by 720 points to 6,650th overall. So continued the upwards trajectory overall. The trend.
I just realized as well, I didn't actually mention my rank, which is probably that's stupid of me. It's the most important.
Oh, yeah. Were you just trying to put it out of your head?
Yeah, potentially, just because of the fact that, again, I fell short of cracking the 1K. I went up 414 spots, and I'm now ranked season high of 1,058th overall, so not too bad. And you might think, it's going to take me weeks to get into the top 1K. I'm 17 points off the 1K, so not too bad. But Liam, we're climbing together, which is the main thing.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I'm trying to see if you can crack the top 1K next week.
I better just make up the
17 points. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. So in terms of trades this week, I made my final upgrades. I traded out Matty Johnson and Will Ashcroft for Jordan Dawson and Tom Liberatore.
Oh,
was nice. It was nice, those two upgrades in one.
Really good.
Both turned up as well, which was nice to see. I don't normally see that when I bring in
that's very true.
Up. Dawson, though, I feel like Dawson should have scored better. Like he scored, I think, 102 or 103 or something.
Yes,
but I feel like he should have scored better, and I feel like I can truly understand what you went through when you traded him in. Just like that underwhelming feeling. Liver, though, pretty happy. I think he scored 120 odd. I'll take that.
Oh yeah,
any day. That does leave me with 4 trades in the bank and a completed side, if you want to call it that. I do still have Steele, the faux primo, and Sheasel.
As do I. She's nuts.
Yeah, but I don't mind him in that role anyway, so happy to keep him there for the time being. I was pretty happy with my score this week, as I said, winning all but 2 of my league matchups. And looking across the field, my lowest was DCAM with a score of 61. I'll now be sitting on my trades this week. I am enticed by Mills, but he might be the only one that makes his way in, and then I'd definitely be sitting on my trades with 3 left. But I'm just sure that Carnage is about to kick in, so want to try and hold as many trades as I can for the time being.
Yep, smart move. Well, you're actually ahead of me because I'm down to 2 trades now after bringing Mills in, and that'll be it. No more bets, like the casino. No more bets. No more trades. But yeah, it's awfully tempting, isn't it? But done enough trading up until now, and now we just pray and hope to the gods and hope they spare us. But Liam, let's roll on to the head-to-head. And this is where the ultimate supremacy really comes into it, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So I chalked up another win and extended the league to 646. But Liam, I can smell a certain something, and it's not the usual smell of Clary's, sweet bacon in the air, because you don't know when he's coming back.
Well, he's never coming back. He's retired.
he's gone. He's retired. He's like, just imagine like this fat pig sitting in the mud in the pen, just like gorging himself on.
He's done I'm just surprised that there's no rumors like the Harry Mackay and Ben Mackay rumor that like one of them's run off with some girl in South America. Brazilian. And yeah, I'm just surprised that no one said that about Clary.
Now that I could believe actually with Clary. Yeah. Like, run off with some Brazilian. They're like, wait a second, that's the same rumor as the Mackay twins. Like, no, it's real.
It's real. It's the actual. It's finally come true. Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, the scent that I'm smelling, Liam, it's not so much bacon this time around. For once, it's more of it stings the nostrils because it's got more of a chili pie potentially. That's maybe in the oven. Maybe that's what it is. So, Liam, by popular demand and by some suspect DM sent our way, at least my way, the people of the SuperCoach Edge community were keen to see you tackle the hot pie by challenge. It's a mouthful, and I know your pie was a mouthful as well. This hot pie by challenge was in the form of devouring a triple chili pie, which was punishment for finishing as the lowest scoring team between us across the bye period. And add a little bit little bit more spice to our usual weekly head-to-head where we're looking for the ultimate supremacy, by the way. But let's see if the pie was too hot to handle. How about these terrible puns, by the way? So without further ado, let's throw to our pre-record from earlier today where we put you to the test and we saw whether or not you could finish the pie first and foremost. But if you struggled to finish the pie.
Did I?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Well, let's throw to it now. And by the way, you'll see also that we weren't just sitting there watching you eat a pie like ASMR and you were just, we could have done that, but that's for a different audience who need to pay extra or just need to pay money, OnlyFans style. Just in general, OnlyFans style, which we're happy to do if you want to do that.
Again, hit up Damon's DMs if that's what you want to.
But no, we didn't just sit there and watch you eat, Liam. We had a chat about a couple of players to segue into the Price is Right trade segment. So let's throw to it now and see how you fared. Alrighty, Liam. The time has arrived.
Yes.
It's finally come. It is the hot pie buy challenge, the chili pie, which was part of the, I guess what do we put? The bet, the head-to-head, the punishment. Well, it could be a reward because you might actually like this, Liam.
It'd be delicious. It actually kind of smells very nice, I have to admit.
It does look quite nice.
It does smell hot, I will say.
Yeah, and as you can see there, I just give us another look at the just hold up, don't touch the top, of course, because you don't want chili on your fingers. As you can see there, that just is it chili flakes and like slices of chili?
It's like chili flakes and then it's like dried chili.
Oh, okay.
Crumbled on top.
Very nice, and I can spot a bit of sauce there as well, just to
muted if it needs it, but
yep, and off screen, what have you got there?
Must admit though, I will be eating with a knife and fork. And I'm not enough.
Smart.
I do know the pie, I promise. But just the fact that it's filled with chili, I want to avoid getting too much chili on the fingers for the rest. Because I will 100% touch my eye straight after I eat this and be blind for the rest of the day.
That is so smart because I just made some lunch earlier and I did spot my chili pie in the freezer and was so tempted to have it today as well. And I think I probably would have just not even thought about using a knife and fork and would have touched the pie and handled it like, fingers on top, touching the chili, and I would be rubbing my eyes and whatnot, and it'd be game over. So that's smart by you. That's a game plan.
Also, I feel like watching someone eat a pie with eating it that way is probably not going to be super nice for anyone at home. So for you guys.
We spoke about the demand of ASMR and well, does that mean as well, like by the end of it, there won't be some foot smushing over that we spoke of?
No, avoid that.
You haven't fired up the OnlyFans?
No, I haven't.
Not yet. It wasn't enough demand.
No, I didn't hear it. There was no DMs.
Oh, you didn't get any, but you didn't see the ones I got. And they involve things other than feet. But anyway,
off screen.
Off screen.
Good old can of Darcy Wilmot's finest.
Yes, the companion.
And to my right, just a full jug of water just in case.
I'm surprised you haven't got a step further and just hooked up the hose, the backyard hose, and fed it through into the kitchen just to hose yourself down because you'll just be on flames.
I'll just be okay.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I'm really excited. I have to admit, this is not a punishment.
It does look actually delicious. And again, talking about game plan, you've got water, you've got the Pepsi Max, which is the perfect beverage to accompany any meal. But also you've got the pie at a temperature that is quite sensible, not too hot in temperature. I mean, it's going to be spice factor, but you don't want it too hot because imagine burning your tongue and then getting chili in your tongue and on your burns wouldn't be too good.
It's hot. It's hot inside, but it's not. It's
ready
not
to eat.
Burning your mouth. I'm gonna be like ugh, kind of thing.
Like the depths of hell, like sitting in the Bay Marie at the MCG, where it's as hard as a rock. Yep. Alrighty. Well, Liam, let's get into it. And whilst you're eating this, so it's not just a weird ASMR, type setup where we're just watching you eat. even though it could be quite funny, but weird at the same time. So we figured that we might as well kick things off whilst you're eating this, and we'll touch on a couple of players, namely Mills and also Keys. So, Liam, do you want to kick us off by taking your first slice?
I might cut it in half so everyone can see inside.
Oh, that's even better. Yep. Don't
touch the pie, Liam. If he does, touches the pie. Seriously, what is wrong with me?
You're going to be scratching your face. You're going to be scratching your eyes.
Oh,
it does look. Geez. And this is from, we forgot the name of, that is piping hot temperature-wise. You can see the heat.
Yeah, I'm doing right now. It is from Gaffney's.
Gaffney's, that's the one.
Pie Kitchen, I think it's called.
Seymour. In Seymour. So I have tried one of the basic ones. Oh, no, I had a curry pie. It was quite nice. I don't know. Is this your first from there, Liam? Or did you try one of them?
But the meat looks chunky. I love it. Oh,
yeah. It's good meat from old Gaffney's. So here we go. First one without sauce.
Yeah, well, it's got a kick. It's got good flavour. It is hot. It's like good net or now in my throat.
Next level.
It is good.
Tier 2.
It's not too hot, I have to say.
But let's kick it off, Liam, as you tuck further into the pie, and we'll chat first up about. Let's go with Callum Mills. So obviously returned to play a full game on the weekend. Obviously, he got subbed out the week prior. Only played around about half a game. But on the weekend, most pleasingly, he, as you take the heat off there with a nice swig of Pepsi Max, quite nice. For those tuning in, I am conscious as well of those people tuning in to the podcast, so I have to give him a bit of a running commentary as to how things are going. Liam's just, he's actually, gee whiz, he's tucking into it now even further. He's
hot though, actually, I have to admit.
I love the fact that you scooped up a bit on the knife and then licked the knife as well. That's just unfazed, absolutely unfazed. But with Callum Mills, the pleasing thing is he actually had the equal most CBAs on the weekend with 76%, alongside Luke Parker and Rowbottom with 76%, and Hickey also with 76%. So I reckon Horse loves a bit of numerology. They're all 76%. Yeah. Incredible. Just a quick check back in. How you going?
To talk right now. My mouth is full of pie. The split's good. It says that he's not. I mean, obviously we haven't got Chad Warner there.
Yep.
But the fact that he's still getting those, that he's getting CBAs and getting bulk CBAs is really positive.
The pleasing thing with that is actually his most CBAs all year as well. Prior to that, his highest was 69% back in round 3, and then 63% in round 8, and prior to that, it was a 47%. So to come back in and play a full game and get the full complement of CBAs, he's already pretty much hit his ceiling of what he can get in terms of the engine room or time in the engine room. So really good first up. Sheldrick, meanwhile, he was probably the main competitor, I think. He actually dropped 5% from 46% the week prior to 41%. And then, of course, a lot was made about Isaac Heaney taking 76% CBAs back in round 13 2 games ago. Out of the buys, he actually had 0% CBAs. And then on the weekend, he only had 12% CBAs. So he's probably the other competitor, Mills, because he sort of picked up the slack when Mills was out injured. So all in all, I think it looks pretty good in terms of his role.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be hard for me to get him in. And I really want him in because I think he presents as a really good M8 or M9 option.
Yep.
I think I'm just a little bit off being able to find him. I think about 20K off getting him in as like an M8. Oh. Sorry, M9. So I could have had him off the bench with Steele, and him as M8, M9. If you can get him in, I'm almost considering trading Steele out for him.
I've actually seen that. I saw someone on Twitter mention that as well, and I don't mind. I think George from George SuperCoach, he was considering something similar, and I don't mind it. What's the price point of Steele? I'll just have a quick squeeze. I think he's around about
420, I think, or 440.
Yeah, so you'd only be gaining around about 40K.
You're not making much cash off it.
Yeah, but you'd be doing it primarily for the scoring output more than anything, yeah?
I don't think that Steele, I'm a bit disappointed in Steele. Going to be honest, he's almost on my never again list. Yeah, I think it's harsh. It feels harsh. I just don't think I know he's injured, and I think I need to see more from him next year to be able to pick him again.
But yeah, he had actually had the We had 82% CBAs on the weekend, up from 76, 74, and 68 the 3 weeks prior. And against West Coast, that's the most concerning thing, isn't it? Especially considering Brad Crouch had 20 tackles or something ridiculous. And that's Steele's bread and butter. That's what we always rub it on about when it comes to Steele, is he's tackling nous. And he struggled. So I don't know, again, is it the shoulder? Is it the psychological side of things? Yeah. Because thinking that he might do his shoulder again, having done it twice already.
The issue not being able to get around as much as well.
He had 6 tackles on the weekend, which isn't too bad. It's probably on par with what he normally gets.
Yeah.
So it's probably Crouch's set an unrealistic benchmark with 17 tackles that he had and 10 the week prior. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from there about maybe wanting to punt him. I guess the question you've got to ask yourself is how many points better is Mills in terms of output compared to Steele, and can you justify the trade off the back of that?
Because I'm down to 4 trades, so that would leave me with 3 trades. With Briggs as my R2, which I'm not too concerned about at this stage, but just that's looming in my head. But yeah, I think if others are considering it, I don't mind it. I think it comes, as you said, down to how many trades you have left. My mouth is a bit on fire now, I have to admit.
Yeah. Are you getting the hiccups or something there, or is that from the heat? Or
I don't know. It feels hot. I've got the hiccups. My mouth is now hot.
You're about halfway through? A third through?
And admittedly, I did also eat the half with them. Like, this half doesn't have many chili flakes on top.
So you went in hard.
Hard at the start, because I thought, give the viewers what they want.
Look at that, looking after them.
But so you've got to consider the points on top of the on how many trades you have left as to whether you would on Mills. If you're going to get Mills in as your last upgrade, it's value. It's really good. I'd do it. If you there's value in getting him as your M9, but again, it comes down to the trades. Like, if you're down to 2 trades because you're getting him as M9, is it worth it? Probably not.
Yeah.
I think it depends on who you have at M8 as well. If you're stacked in the midfield and it's not really going to save you that much, I probably wouldn't do it. But yeah, that's just me personally.
Yep. No, that totally makes sense. I'm bringing in Mills as well, M8 to finalise my team and put the bow or the cherry on top of my team. So I'm happy enough with that. And actually, it is courtesy of Briggs, the Briglet. And he's actually, are you adding some extra chili there?
No, it's just normal sauce.
Sauce. Gee whiz, my heart skipped a beat. Then I thought, geez, you're going up a next level. You're like, this isn't hot. Let me just put some chili sauce. just to whack it on the edge of the pie there. That's he's looking a bit bare. But yeah, just going back to Steele, just briefly, he's in 8% of teams, so he is a relative pod as well, which kind of is hurting you more than not. I mean, it's high risk, high reward in terms of that, but with the output that he's having at the moment, it's doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
But Mills, by comparison as well, I mean, at the moment he's only in 3% of teams, but that should inflate too, you'd think. I mean, he was in, it was the 18, he was being traded in 18% of teams. So that will no doubt rise. But yeah, again, something to consider there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I'd be looking at his ownership closer to the game as well, seeing how much he's gone up, as to whether it suits you or whether you're better off going for a pod. If you look to catch up, it depends on how highly owned Mills becomes.
All righty, well, let's move on to the next guy we'll have a chat about as you tuck into the remainder of your pie there. And you're not sweating it up at all. I reckon you're busting out more of a sweat cutting into the pie through exertion as opposed to...
I will say as well. Good chunks of meat, which I appreciate, and some good crust, some good pastry.
Well, maybe at the end we'll get you to provide a rating. Maybe we should have done the... Well, hold on a second. Is that a big chunk of chili?
That is a huge chunk of chili.
That is amazing. Now, it is called a triple chili pie, isn't it? So there is the chili flakes on top. There's chili in the pie, obviously.
Yeah.
Where's the third?
I think there's 2 types of chili in the sauce.
Gotcha. Maybe you should have upped the stakes, considering that it isn't really hitting your sides at all in terms of the heat. Maybe you should have done it based upon how many weeks you're losing across the buys. So you would have had 3 pies, and I would have had 1. 3 pies to 1, maybe next season. Let's move on to having a chat about Ben Keys. He's actually gone up a fair bit in price. I think now he's a touch over 500K. Yep, 506K as a forward midfielder. Now he's he went up 43.3K in the weekend. And yeah, I mean, if you got him at his low price of 350 or 338 when he bottomed out, you'd be laughing all the way to the bank. But there's been some murmurings on Twitter, and we'll delve into it just with regards to his role. And that was the main worry about whether or not you get him in or bypass him. And we spoke about it early on as well across the buys. It's kind of like one of the main reasons why we both kind of didn't go for him. I was more worried about round 15, sort of setting the tone against the Pies, and I thought he was going to put a really hard tag on Dacos. Didn't happen. But on the weekend, with regards to his role, first off, he scored a 124 against North. Oh, here we go. Now, Liam.
Another big chunk of chili.
Another one. Gee whiz. So against North, 124.
Yeah.
And you'd think, okay, well, surely he had his if you didn't watch the game, he had his role in the midfield. But Liam.
No, not at all.
It was anything but.
Yeah.
He actually had, looking at DFS Australia, 3% CBAs, which equates to 1 CBA the entire game. Incredible.
Absolutely insane. And looking at his heat map from the Telstra tracker on the AFL app. So I'm just having a look at my phone, looking at these stats. Defensive half, he spent 30% of time. Forward half, 70% of time. He has a big chunk of time on the wing, I will say. That's sort of where he has sort of that big red kind of spot. But otherwise, it is very much forward based. Only the 1 CBA. No clearances. He did have 7 tackles, 2 goals, 2, which will inflate his scoring as well. And yeah, 7 tackles and 5 marks. So I guess may have still been playing. I mean, I didn't get to catch the game. Was that when the wedding was on? Yeah, the wedding was on.
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
Yeah, so we obviously didn't get to see it. Looking at his stats from that side, he may have been playing a bit more wing potentially. But really playing through the mid, the inside role. Yeah,
so I guess he's kind of looks as though, looking at the heat map, he's more of a high half forward. He had the big red circle on the wing there, but then aside from that, the majority of time was kind of almost in the center of the forward 50 arc, but drifting kind of to one wing as opposed to the other one. But yeah, it looks like it's more of a high half forward role or wing role drifting forward. Again, I guess it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a bad role. It's just, I think the question needs to be, was this a good game in a bad role, or was it or was it a one-off and he's not going to play this role going forward? Yeah, that's my concern. Is he played out of the box in a role that's not going to score well going forward, and this is just a one-off, or is it the opposite where he can score in this role and he can score as an inside mid and is a great pick? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, and I mean, it was against paltry opposition, no disrespect, but against North. So, can you really use this as the barometer or the benchmark for his scoring from here on out in the same role if it persists? I'm just trying to I'll find it in a moment, but there was a quote leading into the weekend from the coach that mentioned he's going to be rotated with the likes of Saligo, Rochelle, Sloan. I'll find that in a moment, but just looking at the CBAs just to kind of give a bit more light to that. Rochelle had 50% CBAs on the weekend. The week prior to that, he had 0. Saligo had 22% CBAs. Week prior to that, he had 4. And Pedler was I guess the big beneficiary alongside Rochelle, had 11% the week prior and then 42% on the weekend. So all those guys kind of part of the reason, I think the main reason why Keys' CBAs have dropped But I'm surprised that it's gone so far one way. I thought maybe Keys might, have had, CBA is close to like a peddler, at least half of what he was getting in the weeks prior, where he was averaging around about 70 odd. So it is a little bit concerning. I think if I was an owner, I would be a little bit concerned. But I think what this probably says is your expectations probably should be lowered from here on out. There may be games there where, he just isn't able to gather the ball along the wing. It's a big difference playing wing role as opposed to the engine room. Engine room, your ball's at your feet every stoppage, compared to the wing where it's kind of dictated by how your team is, I guess, performing on the day. If your team is getting absolutely smashed or they're getting outplayed, you're not going to see any ball time on the wing, transitioning from defense and whatnot, and kicking out wide. So I think his average from here on out will lower, I think, at a guess, but it's highly dependent upon the strength of their matchups, I think. Now, Liam, as you tuck into it, you spread it across the plate there.
Everywhere now.
It's everywhere, but it's good. It's looking good. You only got a few mouthfuls to go as well. So, absolutely smashing that. And not even a bead of sweat, not even a red face. I was hoping for something, anything. I might have to Photoshop something onto your head, maybe a bead of sweat.
It is from the sinuses, though, I will say.
Oh, it always does that for me, yeah. Yeah, so with Keys, I think if you're a non-owner, I mean, it's non-negotiable. Don't go for him anyway because he's at that high price point of $500K. He's just priced out of range now. But even so, I think there's a little bit of worry for owners, but it is what it is now. I think even if you got him at that cheap price of $350 odd or $400, $450, you got yourself a bargain anyway. So keep that in mind with what he delivered across the buy period. And that'll probably make up for the lack of scoring from here on out if his average does drop. So, yeah, is what it is. And Liam, you've absolutely smashed that. You've done very well. The water's there. You didn't need to hose yourself down.
Still most of it left too.
No, look at that. Yeah. Pepsi Max, how did it work? Did it take off the heat?
Yeah, there's still most of that left as well. I don't know which one worked better.
Yeah. I thought the carbonation might give you a little bit of tingle on the tongue and massage the
brings it out a bit more. Brings the
taste
flavor.
buds. Yeah, exactly right.
I think I agree with you as well on your last point. Not a concern for non-owners. I don't think it means get him in. Probably a slight concern for owners.
Slight concern, but
just because of the role. But yeah, nothing. I don't think there's any action points for them for this round particularly.
Yeah, exactly right. And like with trades dwindling, if it does get to a point where you do need to trade him, maybe you can afford to use a luxury upgrade. But even so, I think he's going to provide some sort of scoring that's reasonable enough. I'm just hopeful for those owners that he doesn't revert back to his average of 68 before he started getting mid-time, because he was punching out some 50s, some 40s, some 60s, 80s and 90s sparingly. But yeah, there's nothing you can do now. It is what it is. You're locked in, and just ride the wave, ride the absolute wave. I probably should mention as well, just to finish off with him, I don't think I mentioned Sloan. His CBAs actually didn't drop. They did drop, but not markedly like Keys. They went from 48% the week prior to 31% on the weekend. So he's still getting the more of the share, more of the slice of pie, you could say, Liam. Yes. But very, very nice. That's pretty much it for our discussion on those two guys. And we'll probably use this as a bit of a segue here on out to chat about the next segment, Liam, the trade segment. And you'll be trading in some more pies off the look of that, Liam. You've absolutely smashed that. Did you enjoy it? And what was the rating, just to round us out?
Yeah, okay. Good rating. Good crust. Great crust. Good flavour. Chunky meat. I want to give it a 9 out of 10.
Very nice. 9 out of 10. That is high praise.
Love a good chunky meat is what it needs in a pie.
Yep, exactly. None of the gristle, eyebrow, eyeball, all that sort of stuff.
You could tell what it was. You could tell that it was meat.
It was actual meat. Yeah. Very nice. Well, Liam, thanks for joining us, and I mean, helping those purveyors, those people who love ASMRs. We didn't really get much ASMR, but just the visuals. People like to tune in to watch people eat. It's a thing, apparently. Thank you for helping get their rocks off, no doubt.
You're welcome, more than welcome.
Well, let's finish off, Liam, with a bit of a throw to a quote, a classic moment from American Pie, probably the most applicable.
Well, we'll just tell your mother that we ate it all. Show me the money.
Oh! Does that make you feel good just to say that? What you gonna do, Derek? Show me the money!
So that was the Hot Pie Buy Challenge that you absolutely smashed. You devoured, Liam. Literally, you did a really good job. Not even a bead of sweat, not even a red face, nothing. Nothing at all.
I don't know if I said, I can't remember now if I did mention this during the record of it, but my mouth was on fire for a while afterwards. It was hot, but it wasn't, it was like a lingering heat, like a lingering tingle, but not, it wasn't something that was too hot to sort of eat, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't you were like, oh, I don't want to have any more because it's burning.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. And of course, need to thank our father-in-law, Peter, for the pie and for suggesting the challenge. And also, of course, Gaffney Pie Kitchen.
Oh,
need to thank them. Sponsorship coming in. We'll more than happy to devour some more pies for you. But also
pay some pies.
Yeah, just pay some pies. I told Jacqueline, my fiance, that I had it today. And she's like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, it was really nice. She's like, oh, well, we're going to see more on the weekend. We can go get some more if you want. And I was like, okay, I don't need I don't need another one right now. I've currently got a pie sitting in the fridge. It was just, would highly recommend if you are in the Seymour area, look them up. It was very tasty. But also, Peter, and this was a suggestion.
Oh, yes, of course.
From our Thursday, my first appearance on the Thursday live stream where we go through the teams and answer some questions from the good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community. But someone suggested that since Peter is obviously in our Patreon league and is currently in last place, that if he finishes in last place, that he should have a go at eating one of those pies.
I think that's a fair suggestion, I think. And that would be legit a challenge for him.
It would
as
be,
we both know.
Yeah, actually it would be.
Struggles with heat, struggles with probably just temperature heat, but spice, I think, more than most. And he's got the full works. The best is when he starts sweating under the eyes. He gets the red lid. Everything. It's amazing. I think I'm probably in between you and him. I think I can withstand it to a point.
Yeah.
But I've still got my as I might have mentioned in the pre-record there, I've got my pie in the fridge, my chili pie. So I'm keen to give it a go. I might give it a go maybe tomorrow or maybe later in the week. But
it was good.
I'll report back as to what my thoughts were. But I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. But Liam, now is the time to flick across to I guess go through the rest of the trade-in and trade-out candidates, as we already started with Mills and Keys, of course. So hopefully that helped, I guess, make it a little bit less disturbing than just sitting there and watching someone eat.
Just watching them eat.
It's some people's kinks. So you might have actually scratched some itches.
Just hit Damon's DMs if you want more of that. But let's jump into the next segment, and that is The Price is Right. And in Price is Right, we discuss the potential trade options, the trade targets that you might like, the trade out options, all of that. And we even look at whether certain players should even be traded at all. But let's kick off, Damon, with going, gone. And this first guy should come as no surprise, but I'm going to throw it over to you.
Well, for me, in my case, it's gone because I got rid of him weeks ago, and it should have never been gone. It should have been non-existent, not even present, whatever, not even in my team, because I started with him. It is Nat Fyfe as a mid-forward, of course, now a mid-forward and not hospitalised, but benched. But he's priced at 313.1k, averaging a 50.7 with a break-even of 58. And scans have come out and revealed that Fyfe has a stress fracture in his foot, which could mean he is out for the season. Freo have come out and said that we're hopeful that he's going to make a return later in the season, which is very, very funny because I'd like to see how many more people he can fool into bringing into their team.
No.
But really not much more needs to be said other than get him out. And we'll just harp back now. This is probably a good segue, Liam. Mentioned at the top of the show. Back in round 13, when he was all the rage, when he'd scored a 90-odd, had a few CBAs, was starting to play more midfield minutes. And we're worried about that because with those extra midfield minutes meant more stress on his legs, more stress on that foot and that Liz Frank injury that he had. Let's throw it out now. And this is what we had to say looking into our crystal ball.
When it does come to Fyfe, with increased playing time and knowing Fyfe's injury history, and of course being in the twilight of his career, it's only a matter of time before he once again goes down with injury. And remember, he's already been injured earlier this season when he was out multiple weeks with a planta fascia issue. And also just like think about the timing of it. You're doing it when you've got not many trades left. You're doing it when probably being out's going to hurt you the most, like in a final potentially, in trying to just get to finals as well. It's a risk. It's a risk.
Well, there we go. That's very very eerie. I'd say eerie, but it's not really because we saw it coming. Everyone should have seen it coming. It happens all too often. And it was spoken by two guys, Liam, in us who have been burnt numerous times. And we've seen that. What's the lyric from Taylor Swift?
I think I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending.
Which is apt because of course, Taylor Swift sold out numerous shows.
Just a couple. Just a couple. It's not like they were hard to get tickets. I don't know what people are complaining about.
No, exactly. I got 10.
You got 10 to each show as well, didn't you?
Yeah. I was going to say 1 to each show, but yeah, 10 tickets to each show.
Again, hit up David in his DMs if you want one.
Please don't, Swifties. They'll lynch mob me if they think that I've bought them in order to try and scalp them. I would not do that. Don't kill me.
Of course not. Of course not.
No, I sell them half price. Don't kill me. I'm
just if you like and subscribe, that's what you can do.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, let's move on to the next player on the list, and it is Alex Chincotta, defender eligible, 255.9k, averaging 58 with a break even of 52. The ricotta panna cotta, whatever else you want to call him, has lost his early season touch when he was punching out scores to the tune of 67, 88, and 70. Since then, his average has dropped from high 70s to just 58. And his score of 32 on the weekend absolutely highlights that drop. His break-even is now shot up to 52, and his days as a cash cow are all but up, unfortunately. Having gone up 153.5k in price, he has more than served his purpose and is an easy downgrade to generate cash, or an upgrade to a primo if you've got enough cash in the bank. However, that being said, he could serve as an emergency bench cover if you do need, but is most certainly a player that is break glass in case of emergency if you do decide to keep him.
Yep, absolutely. I'm in that camp at the moment because I ended up swapping, as I mentioned, Weddle to Doc in one trade. But yeah, he would have otherwise been a handy downgrade option and use that handy cash to fund the primo upgrade. But yeah, I mean, any cover is better than no cover, so I'm going to stick by that option.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think he's actually had a few half decent scores as well. Like I know the role isn't quite there when Doc was out, and that's kind of when he was booming a bit. But yeah, he's had a few 60-odd scores as well. But yeah, the 32 on the weekend, and he had 52 the other week as well. Not the best, but if you can score around about a 60, that's probably a pass mark for him. But let's move on to the next category on the chopping block. And there's a couple of players here. Again, these come down to, where you're at with your own team. If you need to trade out these guys in order to fund upgrades or to use them alternatively as stepping stones, genuine primos. So first up, we have Matthew Johnson as a midfielder priced at 319.5k, averaging a 54.5 with a break even of just 12. Only really finds himself on this part of the list as you can use him to get a primo, as I mentioned. then, that does make him a great option, having made 195.6K, if you don't mind. So has been a handy cash cow.
Yep.
But with his ability to ton up, we've seen that he can be handy bench cover as an M9. So equally can be kept if needed. So I'm keeping him all year myself personally. And likewise this next guy as well, which we'll have a chat about.
Yep, agreed entirely. And next guy on the list is Seamus Mitchell. He's got that lovely DPP status with a forward and defensive eligibility. He is 375.4K. He's averaging 72.5 with a break even of 28. And much like Johnson before, really finds himself on this option in this list. If you can upgrade him, because he's made 251.5K, huge. And realistically is an easy stepping stone to the likes of Callum Mills with 20, 25, 30K. Is all you'll need to do that. Trade and obviously some DPP swings. But if you are low on trades, I think it's perfect cover. It's got that DPP cover, so if you've got Harry Himmelberg or you've got Sheasel, swing him around. And he's got that DPP, so he could be a D7 or F7, and we know that he's got the role, he's got the scoring ability, and he's got the job security. So tick tick tick, in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. You've covered all bases there, and that's probably one of the main reasons why I identified Seamus myself in my own team a few weeks out when I was planning out my trades, just because of that pure fact he's got that DPP swing with Sheasel. So it's going to come in handy, hopefully, if need be, across the course of the season. But he's also been really good by cover and coming out of the buys, posted some really, really solid scores, like he did on the weekend when he scored an 87. So, really handy bloke. Good old Seamus. Our Seamus, my Seamus. But let's move on to the next category, and it is get them in. And probably goes without saying there who tops the list. And it is Callum Mills as a midfielder, priced at 404.1K, averaging at 88.1 with a break-even of 47. So I've already gone into Mills, of course, in depth when you were smashing down that pie, not even breaking a sweat, Liam. So we'll just reference that he's a perfect option for your M8/M9 as a bit of a potential loop option off the bench going forward for the rest of the season. So let's move on to the next guy now.
Yes, and just will note that we're trying to go through more options that are just one or two options from each sort of line that are potential trades, because we obviously acknowledge that most people at this stage have completed their side, so you might only be looking for upgrades or sideways luxury trades, or you might only be looking to do an upgrade because you've got some players left over, or you've got an injury. But realistically, just try to reduce, I guess, the number of guys we're talking about, and really limiting it to sort of a top option and then potentially a value option or a bit of a pod option as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, the next mid option we've got here is Darcy Parish. A bit of value here, 572.2K, averaging 107.9 with a break even of 102. Now, I actually had to look into Parish's numbers this week in terms of his scores, and I was pretty surprised. He's been pretty consistent. He's had just the 3 scores below 100 from his 10 games this season, one of which was last week when he returned, which I think he scored 93 off the top of my head. And one of his other scores was actually a 98. And I think the other one was an 80 in the 80s. So really not super low floor, not super low, which is good to see. That's what you want from a midfielder. He did manage his season best score this week with a score of 130 something. 131. I did write it down.
Yeah, you did.
I did actually write it down. Oh my God, I should have read ahead. And that's just a bit of a reminder of what he is capable of. We've seen him in the past, have really high ceilings. And just that one score of 131 could have been so much bigger as well. He kicked 0-4 for the game. So could have been incredible. Huge. And one of those would have been the sealer for the game, most likely, that he put to the left, I think, off the top of my head. So could have been a huge score from Parish. I think as well, the next few weeks really present as a great opportunity for him to go bananas in terms of his scoring. He's got 3 game averages against the next 3 opponents that read like this. So he plays Adelaide next week, who he has 3 round 3-game average of 104 against. Geelong, who is a 3-game average of 105.3, and Western Bulldogs a 3-game average of 100.3. So there is some strong potential for him to have some big scores, I think, in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. He's
and he's only 572.2k, so relatively cheap for a midfielder of his caliber, I guess.
And I imagine he's a bit of a pod. 2% of teams.
Yeah.
2%. So since coming back from injury, it always helps.
And I think you can see that he and Merrett don't necessarily cannibalize each other's points. So Merrett scored the 160 odd, and Parrish scored 130 this week. So there is potential for them both to go large.
Yep, I like it. He's a very, very nice option at that price point. Very similar as well in Erie because Christian Petrarca scored very similar, 128, and kicked 4 behinds as well. And easy shots that he should have converted, and Melbourne probably would have won off the back of that. So sliding doors for both of those guys.
As well.
Yeah, exactly. Very eerie. But moving on to the next guy, and it is Taron Thomas as a mid-forward, 382.8k, averaging a 92.5 with a break-even of 48. And since his return, Thomas has shown us why he was highly considered last season, pumping out scores of 89 in his return game, 112, 75, and 94. And pleasantly, he's getting CBA. So the 75 came from his lowest CBA percentage for the season with 22%, but otherwise they've remained relatively consistent with 51% in round 12, 62% in round 13, and 50% on the weekend. And he managed that even with a return of LDU, which was impressive enough, who came back with 72% CBAs, slightly lower than his average of 80%, but it looks like Jai Simpkin and Hugh Greenwood have been the big losers in CBAs. Very surprising there with Jai Simpkin. I thought, he might regain most of the CBAs, but he's a value option, but again, is a high risk, high reward type scenario.
I don't mind him if you've got not much cash and you just need someone. I feel like he has potential to score well.
Yeah, at that price point, I think, from what he's shown, he's pretty good value. He's got DPP as well, which is handy. He's a prick of a bloke. That's the only downside of him. SuperCoach aside, but yeah. Yeah.
No, agreed entirely. Let's move on to the next guy on the list, and it is Dan Houston. He is a defender, 558.9k, averaging 105.1 with a break-even of 15. And we all saw what he did when he kicked the match winner. And I'm just shocked that he somehow managed to get scaled down from that point. He went down like 3 or 4 points off the top of my head after the game. I don't get it.
How many points did they attach to him throughout the game that he didn't deserve that outweighed the extra points he would have scored for kicking the winning goal?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Like, they must have stuffed up along the way, surely.
Yeah. There's just, yeah. The only thing I can think of is that they've over-allocated points for the game because it was so, like, because it's wet, it's more contested, more.
Yeah.
Like, there's less. I'm just wondering. It makes no sense to me. Good though for those that were looking to trade him in, as the scaling down meant that he remains marginally cheaper.
Yeah, it worked well for Emper, who's a regular listener and viewer of our content, and he was sweating.
Like $400 or something, wasn't it? That it saved him.
Yeah, he was sweating bullets, and we saw the pre-scaling score, and we're like, oh, Emper's going to lose his shit over this. And then, he was scaled down, and maybe the plot twist is because it's such a weird thing to happen. I wonder if Emper actually secretly works at Champion Data and he's just not telling us.
Interesting.
Pulling some strings.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Explains a lot, particularly with that. Anyway, moving on, Dan Houston. He has gone on an absolute tear in the last few weeks with scores of 146 and 156. But overall, his season has presented some interesting scores on both sides of the equation. So his 3 top scores read 156, 146, which were scored in the last 2 weeks, and 128. And his 3 bottom scores read 47, 72, and 77. So based off that, there's almost an argument both ways with Houston, like bringing him in because he does have that huge ceiling. But then the issue is he's got a low floor,
low floor,
which is really concerning. Obviously, if you're playing for overall, it doesn't really matter because he's averaging 105.1. But if you are playing for what is it for
Head-to-head
leagues,
Mm.
that could hurt you massively, especially at this sort of pointy end of the season. It sits in 2% of teams before the start of next round, so he's a massive pod as well. It's high risk, but it could be high reward if he does pay off and keep scoring really well. But I think the fact that we can see, those 72s, those 77s, those 47s in his scoreline,
Yeah.
that hurts.
I must admit, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 of his last 6 games have been 110 plus, which is pleasing. But that one down score was the 47 against the Dogs. But so maybe he's working into form a little bit. Even looking back further, that the 3 weeks prior to that period, 2 of the 3 weeks were 100 plus. But again, I could have easily gone for him over Doherty, for example, on the weekend. But again, I'm someone, and you're probably similar as well, Liam, but I like to back in someone that has the runs on the board. So Doherty is obviously been a top 3 defender in the past. So that's probably one thing that has really solidified in my mind. Okay, we'll go for Doherty. I know what he can score. And again, he's got the high floor, even higher than Houston, I think. And he's probably got equally as high a ceiling as Houston at his peak, I guess. So, that's probably the deciding factor for me between both of those guys there.
Yeah. And again, I think we're going to talk about Doherty next as a bit of a segue there. But of those 2 guys, I mean, there's just value with Doherty. You're saving an extra 23K, almost 24K.
Yeah.
With Dockers. And I think that makes sense at this stage of the season. I'd almost value that. And the fact that I think definitely Doherty has a higher floor. As to whether he has a higher ceiling, I'd question that. But I think I think Doherty is less. If you're going for league particularly, or if you are in leagues, Doherty's less likely to lose you a league.
That's
whereas
true.
Houston's more likely to win you a league, but he's also more likely to lose you a league.
Yeah, just as likely.
And it just depends on which score comes out, basically.
It's interesting because I think both of those guys as well, they play very similar roles for their teams. Roaming around, they're not just confined to being a traditional quarterback kicking out of defense. They run up the ground, they spread to the wings, they even push up to the half forward line as well and kick goals, as we can see with Houston, obviously, with the game winner, but also Doherty as well, which I'll get into now, kicked a goal on the weekend as well. So it's hard to sort of split these 2 guys, and I mean the price point probably indicates that, but if you're going for either player, I think it's a win-win. It probably comes down to how many dollar dues you have in the bank. But let's delve into Doherty now. So he is priced at 535K, averaging a 100.1 with a break-even of 85. And he scored 108 on the weekend in a pleasing display, which takes his 3-round average to 98.7 and a 5-round average to 103.2. And since returning from injury, 6 of his past 9 scores have delivered tons, and 2 of those games that weren't tons fell just short with 94 and 96. And it's funny because many forget that he was one of the most owned defenders to start the season, I think, because on the weekend, Ryan was, from memory, I think it was about the 3rd or 4th most traded in player. And he would have been, up there among the top 2 traded in players for the defense. And it was amazing because I think he was in 40% of teams to start the year, Doherty. But now he's in just 7% of teams. So comes as a juicy primo pod option in comparison to, say, a Ryan, who I spoke of earlier when I was talking about my own team. But most pleasingly with Doherty, it looks as though he has the role that he had last year when he was delivering juicy scores en masse as a high halfback flanker, drifting up to the wing and pushing forward at stages like Houston and kicking some snags. He does provide also a super solid floor, which is always a handy thing to have, especially, as you mentioned, Liam, with your head-to-head league matchups. And if you're in cash leagues, they can become super crucial. Since his return in round 7, his lowest score has been 77. Aside from that, it's been 94, 96, and then upwards of 110 plus. So looking, like a solid option for those people that are in need of a lower priced primo in defence. Because I think and we spoke about it during the buys as well, but that was kind of the merit of holding onto Sicily, because there were no other primos aside from a Dacos, Stewart, Dawson, Sinclair. And Sheasel, I guess, to an extent, but Sicily was the only really other one. But now we've got Doherty, we've got Houston, so at least those guys are on the cusp. So for those people that don't quite have the funds to bring Sicily back in, I think either of these guys are pretty good options.
You had to choose one. Who would you pick?
Between
Houston and Doherty. Sorry.
Oh, I made that very choice on the weekend because Houston was cheaper than or around about the mark of what Doherty was priced at. So cool. I could have afforded Houston, but I went for Doherty just purely based upon, he's got the runs on the board for a longer period, whereas Houston traditionally has fallen away and does have that. He had a worse standard deviation in his scoreline, which I think can hurt you from week to week in head-to-head league games. So I do like that security of Doherty and the fact that he's got that rollback that we're worried about him losing early in the season when he punched out scores of 73, 87 and 71 in the first or 3 of the first 4 games to start the season. So he's got his old rollback and he's even had less CBAs as well. But he's kind of pushing up to stoppages, as I mentioned, like that extra, I guess, person in the engine room without actually being a ruck rover or a rover.
Agreed. Let's move on to the bubble. So let's look at some rookies. And first up, we've got David Cunningham, mid-forward eligible, 163.8K, averaging 69.5 with a break-even of minus 146. And we all know the long and storied history of Cunner's injury history. He hasn't played since... Well, he hadn't played since round 9, 2021 until, last week when he had done a knee. Then on top of that, since then, he's had ongoing calf issues, a dislocated shoulder, and most recently another calf setback, poor bloke. He is very talented. But aside from that, obviously we have to question his durability, but we also have to question his traditional role as a high half forward, as it isn't necessarily assured of consistent scoring from week to week. And I worry to an extent that a flashy score of 97 might entice too many people in and think, oh, wow, look, this is the norm. Yeah. It shows that he's capable of scoring when he's at his peak, but I don't necessarily think you should be accepting or not accepting. Of course, you'd accept scores like that, but you shouldn't be expecting scores like that week to week. He's a nice cash cow option if you do need one, or a forward cover, given he is best 22 if he remains at full fitness. But much like Nat Fyfe before him, he comes with a fair warning, with a chance of injury. But I think at 163.8K, you can probably take the risk at this stage of the season if you do want some. If you have plenty of trades and you want some cover for your F7 or M9.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, I think he is the one thing that he has going for him, aside from his lack of durability, is he's best 22. He always has been, because he's quite a talented player, but he just hasn't had the chance to get that consistent run in. So I am a fan of him, and I can say as a Carlton man that he should play from week to week. But I do worry about his durability, the poor bloke. That is fraught with danger, as you mentioned. Next up, we have Lockie Fogarty. He's his teammate, midfielder forward, also DPP, 167.4K, averaging a 75 with a break-even of negative 55. So kind of mirrors Cunner's here. Having scored 51 and then 99 on the weekend, the Fog, he stands out as another higher-priced rookie on the bubble. He has been playing as a half-forward flanker with tiny stints in the engine room, presumably more just rotation and giving the big dogs a rest. But has shown he can average high 60s traditionally, pushing into the 70s, and he only needs to score 55 across the next 2 weeks to make 80 to 90K according to SuperCoach Plus. However, one difference with Fogarty compared to Cunningham is he isn't necessarily a walk-up starter in the Carlton team, so could find himself out of the side if his form tapers. So he comes with uncertain job security, absolutely. So I think take note of that. And he's probably more of a risk on the job security side of things. Between those two guys, I would be willing to take a punt on Cunners as opposed to Fogarty, albeit Fogarty, he actually did play a pretty good game of the weekend. But again, with both of these guys scoring quite well, you've got to remember as well, they're playing Hawthorn, who got absolutely trounced by Carlton. So probably not the true reflection of how they will be scoring from week to week.
Also, probably need to take into consideration that the game that their first game, so when Fogarty did score that 51 and Cunningham, I'm assuming he scored around the same 50 odd.
Yeah, 42 less actually.
Yeah, okay, 42. That was against Gold Coast again when they absolutely trounced them. So there's not necessarily even any guarantee. I mean, I think that Gold Coast are a much better side than Hawthorn at this stage. But that also says that even if they are in a winning position or, Carlton are going really quite well, it doesn't necessarily mean their scoring is going to be high. So there's that added layer to it as well.
Yep. No, fair point. Absolutely.
Let's move on though to probably the only more traditional rookie on the list. But sorry, before that, actually, I agree with you, Damon. If I was going to pick of those two, Cunningham comes in. I'd go Cunningham, 1, because he's cheaper, 2, because I think his best 22 job security is higher. But yes, I'd really be looking at them as bench cover at this stage.
He's probably should mention as well, like a similar negative break evens. Cunningham is projected to potentially make 90K over the next couple of weeks if you can score a 62 this coming weekend and then a 54 the week after. So I guess both of these guys could give you a bit of extra cash injection within a short amount of time if you need sort of to bridge the gap in your bank to afford a premo that you're eyeing off. But and for season-long cover as well if you want. But depends on what your aim is. But that's kind of which route you go down is dependent upon that.
Yep, agreed. Now let's move on to the more traditional rookie on the list, and it is Jack Williams, ruck forward eligible, 123.9K, averaging 36 with a break even of -2.
Woo.
And he's got scores of 21 and 51, so doesn't really present much as cover for anyone that wants to bring him in. With a break-in of -2, probably not going to make much cash either, if that's what you're looking for. He certainly, and again, uncertainty with his job security given Merrett hasn't even been a certain starter since debuting in the team. Oof, not looking good for Jack Williams. At this stage, I think you are probably better off looking at a David Cunningham. The only reason you might bring in a Williams is because, but then if you're going to bring it, to be honest, if you're going to bring in Williams, I'd be looking at 102K rookie that's not going to play, use him as a loophole, maximize the cash you're going to get out of it. Unless you really need, if you really need a rookie that's going to make cash, then I'd go Cunningham or Fogarty, and probably Cunningham. That's kind of it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. Because I mean, if you're getting him in to activate that DPP option as well as a ruck forward, why not just go? If you don't already have a Madden, you might as well go for a cheaper basement price 102K rookie. Makes more sense. As you said, maximize the amount of cash that you can. And it's kind of getting to that stage of the season as well where people are completing teams and they need as much cash as possible to afford that last upgrade. So that's a fair point to point out as well. We haven't mentioned him here, but we'll just briefly say Ryan Merrett. A lot of people already have him. He's in 25% of teams. He was a late in on the weekend. He went up 37.6K in price to now be priced at 140K. And to his credit, he actually performed pretty well against the Saints. Scored a 76 off the back of 2 goals, 13 disposals, 4 marks, and 4 tackles. So again, he probably is someone that you wouldn't bring in as a bit of a cash cow because, as you can see, he's got a 49 and a 16 in both of his first 2 games. And he's only projected to go up to 50K over the next couple of weeks if he can score, albeit 38 over the next couple of weeks, both weeks. So he's probably more someone if you want cover more than anything. But again, as we've mentioned, eye off guys as well that have DPP and are basement price if you are looking to maximize the amount of cash that you can get. But Liam, it's that time. Can you hear it in the distance?
Toot, toot,
Yes. Yeah, I can hear that.
toot, toot.
It sounds like a strained toot toot. It sounds like the boat's about to conk out.
Yeah, it's right out there because
I
toot,
am
toot.
the captain now.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Toot, toot.
Oh my God, it's here.
It's out the front, David. What are you talking about?
It's literally in the driveway.
It's in the driveway.
It's on wheels. I'm the captain now. We chat about what VC and C options you've got for the upcoming round of SuperCoach. As always, we've scrunched the data and found the best options for you to consider. I'm just imagining for some reason you in a boat with wheels, with the pirate's hat, with the patch over the eye, with a hook hand, saying toot toot, literally saying, just mouthing toot toot.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm here. My ride's here. My Uber's here. I gotta go jump in.
Yep. That is that's how I'm gonna turn up to your house next.
Please do. Be a nice surprise.
Let's kick off with some vice captaincy options this week. First up, on Thursday night, 7:20 p.m. at the MCG, we have Richmond taking on Sydney. And of course, who else would we have in this match other than Tim Taranto? He has an average of 97.25 in his last 4 games against the Swans, including a score of 115 earlier in the year, 119, 72, and 85.
Very nice. We also have Errol Goulden, the gun. He's in some ripping form now. Has an average of 76.67 in his 3 games against the Tigers with scores of 88, 68, and 74. So not too flattering, but as I said, he's in a rich vein of form.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look. He scored 156 at the MCG last time that he played there.
Yep.
And then 85 the time before that. Yeah, a bit each way. Could be a nice VC for Thursday night. But yeah, let's move on to Callum Mills. He has an average of 124 in his last 4 games against the Tigers, with scores of 97 coming earlier in the year, 117, 108, and 173. So Richmond are also giving away the second most points to opposition inside mids. So if you do have him, he could be a pod VC option too, if you do go for him.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how many people will be doing that. Like, I can't remember a time where I've bought someone. Sorry, I'm an idiot because I did it the other week. Petrarca. I put the VC on Petrarca and ended up locking in his score. I think he scored a 121 or thereabouts. Yeah. But yeah, he's a nice option first up, that's for sure. And I don't think there'll be many people doing that because there are a couple of other juicy options.
There are a lot of juicy options this round.
The next juicy option is in the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood match on Friday at 7:50 p.m. at Marvel Stadium, and it is in the form of Zibont, Marcus Bontempelli. He's got an average of 105 at his last 4 games against the Pies with scores of 125, 92, 76, and 127. And Collingwood are also giving away the 3rd most points to opposition inside mid, so he could absolutely feast Zibont.
Good. Could be a good one for your VC. Next up, we've got Timmy English, his teammate. He has an average of just 73 in his 4 games against the Pies with scores of 96, 63, 70, and 63 again. Nothing really to write home about there.
Yep. Coming off a 127 on the weekend as well.
Yeah, I think his recent form is probably more why you'd look to him, not necessarily his historical average.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. But it's fair to say he would probably be the 3rd option amongst these 3 here. Yeah. With the next up being Nick Dacos, and he's only played the Bulldogs once for a score of 69, but gee whiz, he's in some really good form. That goes without saying. He's actually scored a ton in every game dating back to round 9, where the form line looks like this. 125, 100, 124, 123, 118, 132, and most recently on the weekend, a 149. And with him as well, good old Dakes, he's actually getting a few more CBAs, but it might be fleeting because Jordan DeGuy is due back this week.
This week, isn't he? Yeah.
But the previous couple of weeks, his CBAs have gone sous the roof. He's actually gone from 81% 2 weeks ago to 62% on the weekend. So, yeah, even so, it's good to see that he's actually performing not only in the midfield, but off halfback as well.
Let's move on to the next game. Saturday at 1:45 p.m. at the G. It is not at the G, at the Gabba. It is Brisbane up against the West Coast Eagles. Rip Eagles. It is going to be a bloodbath. Lockie Neale, he has an average of 137.25 in his last 4 games against the Eagles, with scores of 123, 133, 166, and 127, all of which you would take as a VC. If I know 123 is technically below, but you'd take it. 123 surely. And as we all know, we've already discussed this. West Coast give away the most points to inside mids, which also is nice to see for this next guy on the list.
Oh, absolutely. Although he had a bit of a downer on the weekend, and we chose the right side of the coin if we were to flip it between these two guys. Josh Dunkley. So he has an average of 135.25 in his last 4 games against the Eagles, with scores of 143, 132, a 151, and a 119. There is obviously a question about the corked calf that I think he had during the game, was assessed during the third quarter, came back on promptly. And then I think old man Fags looked at the scoreboard and said, it's in the bag. Let's give him a rest. So subbed him off as a bit of a tactical resting more than anything. So hopefully he takes his spot in the side. But it is the Eagles, so may they rest him if there's some sort of issue with him.
That's gonna be a concern, isn't there?
That'll test some benches.
Watch this space.
The only thing with West Coast as well is I'm worried about that they may tag. I think they tagged on the weekend. I can't recall who was the taggee against. It was against Sinclair. Let me just have a quick squeeze. But Sinclair ended up breaking the tag. Was it O'Neal? Yeah, it was Xavier O'Neal. Well, yeah, he's not the best. So don't have to worry about him too much. Sorry, Zave.
Is he on your same list as R2 Galea?
I don't know, but he's got a head like a sultana. Good old Zave. For good measure.
All right. Let's move on to the next game. It is GWS up against Hawthorn on Saturday at 4:35 at Gold Coast at Giant Stadium. Got there eventually. And we've just got one guy on this list at this stage, and it is Tom Green, who has an average of just 83.3 in his last 3 games against the Hawks, with a score of 97, 93, and 71. He's obviously only played them the 3 times, but again, probably comes up against potentially, so it has potential to, go big in this game. And just looking at his recent scores, he's got a 127 and a 128 in his last 2. So could be ripe for a nice score.
Yes, absolutely. Relished in the wet conditions on the weekend, did T Green. Should also mention as well, one thing that I'm looking at doing potentially is a VC on like a Bont into a C on Neale, for example. So, you can obviously change that up, but we've broken these down into early games, VC options, later games, captaincy options. And that's what we veer into now with the captaincy options outright. And it is in the first game, St Kilda up against Melbourne on Saturday at 7:25 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. And Jackie Sinclair is hit a nice patch. He's got an average of 76.5 in his last 4 games against the Ds, with scores of 83, 67, 75, and 81 on the weekend. Ended up scoring a 116. Prior to that, he scored a 133, 102, and 125, a 71, and a 160. So he's starting to hit his straps. I think no matter where he's played, getting a few more CBAs, which were kind of putting a dent in his scoring ceiling, but I think he's adjusting potentially. But yeah, I don't mind him as an option.
Agreed as well. On the other side of the field, we've got Christian Petrarca, who was an average of 101.5 in his last 4 against the Saints, with scores of 106, 92, 127, and 81. Yeah. But his recent form has been good, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, he's like I said, with comparing him to Parrish, he only scored a 128, but he should have ended up scoring closer to a Zachary Merrett, potentially a 160 odd, if he was able to kick a couple of those goals. Because in a close game against the Giants, and potential match winning goals as well, that would have given him a fair bit of scaling. But scored a 128, 121, 95, 159, and a 122 in his past 5 games. So looking pretty good.
Worthy scores there.
Yeah. Next up, we'll include him if he plays, the pink sweaty pig. For anyone that's got him or looking to bring him in, he's got an average of 127.5 in his last 4 games against the Saints, with scores of 135, 133, a 134, and a 108. So you can see the reason why we've included him there.
Yeah, agreed. If he plays, risk I think there is that he plays limited minutes or gets subbed if the game is in the bag. But who knows? Also depend on the cost of a ticket back from Brazil.
Very true. Very true. Get an extra ticket for his flame.
Yeah, exactly.
The old Brazilian. I don't know what to call it. Yeah, hips don't lie.
Yeah, Shakira. Moving on to the next game, it is Port Adelaide taking on Gold Coast Saturday at 7:40 at Adelaide Oval. I think this is also for the longest run of wins. This game. Against one side against another, I'm pretty sure this will take, as long as Port Adelaide win, this will be the longest streak
ever. So Gold Coast have never beaten Port Adelaide.
Oh, just in wins in a row.
Oh, so wins in a row.
Gold Coast has definitely beaten Port, but I think Port, it's like 13 wins or something.
Oh, gee whiz.
13 times that Port Adelaide has beaten Gold Coast in a row.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me if I am wrong. But anyway, in that game, you got Zach Butters. He's got an average of just 59 in his 2 games against the Suns, with scores of 42 and 46. But I think it should be noted that the last time he did play the Suns was way back in 2020. So definitely not going to consider his recent form. His recent games against them, because there haven't been any. But let's just have a quick look at his recent scoring. And I mean, he scored 109 on the weekend. And hasn't really had a massive score in recent weeks, but we do know that he can have a big ceiling. So this could be the week. This could be the week for it.
This could indeed be the week. In hot demand. Good old Butters. We also have Connor Rosie. His teammate averages 112 in his last 4 games against the Suns, with scores of 113, 94, 125, and 116.
Yep. Now let's move on to the next game. It is Geelong taking on North Melbourne on Sunday at 1:10 at Alphabet Stadium. And it is Tom Stewart.
Very good.
Of course, because he averages 108.5 in his last 4 games against the Roos, with scores of 97, 151, 118, and 68. Boo. But North give away the second most points to opposition defenders, so could all be coming up Tom Stewart.
Yeah, and just on Tom Stewart as well, I was just quickly looking at his fixture. 4 of his next 5 games are at Alphabet Stadium. Good old GMHBA.
Juicy.
So yeah, could be interesting run for him. Could this be a start of him absolutely tearing it up?
Well, he went nuts on the weekend in the second half.
Oh, he started like absolute shit, and then he turned it on, didn't he?
Absolutely turned it on. So not just salvaged, but made a good score. Like
147, incredible. Yeah, it was something to behold. But yeah, he's got a great matchup. And I was when I was doing my team talk video, which is up on YouTube, by the way, if you haven't seen it. I was going through like historical form lines and all that sort of stuff, and exploiting matchups and stuff. And I noticed with North, and I was like, ooh, Tommy Stewart. I don't think I've put the VC on him yet, or the C, but he's an option. Let's move on to the next game. Essendon up against the Crows on Sunday at 3:20 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. And first up, we have Zachary Merrett. And coming off a massive score, he's got an average of 103.75 in his last 4 games against the Crows, with scores of 143, 135, a 120, and a 17, which is, of course, injury affected. Adelaide do give away the second least points to opposition inside midfielders, so keep that in mind. Probably counters the, I guess, the 168, and nice little form line that he's built over the past couple of weeks at least.
Yep. Just on that though, if we take into consideration to get rid of that 17, his 3-round average again, or 3-game average against them is 132.6.
Yeah,
so
that's better.
Yeah, nice and big. But I'm also going to say that Essendon give away the third least points to opposition inside mids. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, because I think the last time we saw 2 teams that did something like this, it kind of counteracted. It just meant that because both teams didn't give away many points to opposition, I think it was Ruckman. I think it was not Port, sorry. It was
it Bulldogs
and the Bulldogs. And they both went massive. Like both, it was Sean Darcy went like 130 or something, and English did the same. So I just wonder whether there's it kind of counteracts a little bit.
There's a positive effect coming out of the 2 negatives.
Yeah. So I do wonder
2 negatives equal to positive.
Whether that does happen, because obviously this points have to come from somewhere.
True.
Of course, as well in the matchups. I don't mind Zach Merrett as a bit of a, probably going to be a pod C as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
Just based off that. Rory Laird, though, on the other side of the table, good option. He's an average of 109 in his last 4 against the Dons, with scores of 143, 123, 97, and 73. But again, as I mentioned, Essendon do give away the third least points, to opposition inside mids. Yep.
And applicable to this next guy as well, Jordan Dawson. He's got an average of 84.25 in his last 4 games against the Dons, with scores of 97, 73, a 122, and a 45.
Yep. And on to the last game of the round. It is Fremantle up against Carlton on Sunday at 4:40 p.m. at Optus Stadium. And first up, we've got Caleb Sarong, who has an average of 65.75 in his last 4 against the Blues, with scores of 70, 70, 58, and 65. But we have seen, again, his recent form line, where he's had some big scores and could be one to consider. Like on the weekend, he scored 138. Last week, 104. 84, 108, 93, and 135 since round 10.
Interesting indeed.
And obviously, Carlton also give away the least points to opposition inside mids.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, it could be a negative. Oh, God, too much here.
Yeah, absolutely. And next up, we have Andy Brayshaw. He's got an average of 98 in his last 4 games against the Blues, with scores of 104, 87, 66, and a 135. But yeah, last game of the round. Do you do it? So we always ask the question. No, don't do
Probably
it.
not. Some other options, I guess, you could go for. Sam Walsh hasn't been in the best form in terms of scoring in recent weeks, though, but has a reasonably favourable fixture against Fremantle in scores of 138, 106, 124 in his last 3. And then I haven't included Doherty just purely because he is a pod, but could be a nice option as well because he's been himself in some nice form.
Yep.
But again, probably only if those 2 would only be like Hail Mary kind of options if you were just wanting to find a way to get a win if you are losing your head-to-head.
Yep, very good point. Well, Em, let's now jump into our little captaincy head-to-head and check in on where things land with that. So on the weekend, you had the first pick with Dawson, and you tried to be strategic. Do you remember?
And I need to stop doing this. Every time I try and be strategic, it shoots me in the foot.
Yeah.
And it was purely to stop myself from choosing Laird.
So for those people tuning in for the first time, I'll need a refresher as a part of our captaincy head-to-head rules. So Liam had the first choice last week. And prior to last week, I ended up choosing Laird.
Yeah.
So by Liam choosing Dawson, who was my second choice, I wasn't able to go for obviously Laird because I'd already chosen him. So you can't select the same captain
2 weeks in
for
a row.
consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
So that was the main reason. So you were trying to be strategic there, trying to pull a little bit of shifty. And I do remember at the time you're like, watch this backfire on me.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it did just that.
It always does.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and
Damon, you went on to choose.
I went on
Who'd
to
you choose?
choose Neale. And I can't recall who I was choosing between prior to that. I think I was going to do something stupid.
Ooh,
I can't
remember.
recall. And I think I was choosing between Dunkley and Neale, and we both settled on Neale because I was like, Neale's due. Like he's just due.
Yeah.
I know Dunkley's been in good form, but just the law of odds and chance. You're closer to having a turnaround game or a bit of a downer in Dunkley's case, which happened, and he got injured, which didn't help it. I can't recall if there was I think it was the week prior.
The week
I was looking
before
at
I
Stewart.
talked you out of Stewart.
Yeah. But yeah, ended up going
To
for
my
Neale.
detriment. Yep.
Yeah, who scored a 143 and Dawson scored the 102. So that notched up another win for me. So I go ahead at 9 wins to your 6, and the total now becomes, or rather the deficit, 118. And that is pretty much that. But Liam, I have the first choice this week.
Yeah, you do. What are you going to do? How are you going to screw me over?
And I'm wondering if part of the reason, like this is another plot twist, this is like layers within layers, because last week you were like, go for Neale, go for Neale. Had you already looked ahead to see that Neale was facing West Coast and you knew that there was a fair chance that he's going to bust out a big score?
No, actually, no. I'm not that.
Okay.
I don't have that many layers in me.
Like an onion. Like
Yeah,
Shrek.
I'm not an ogre.
That would have been next level. That would have been like, I'm thinking of like, the Saw movie, the original one where it's like do. That is like one of the biggest plot twists in like recent movie history. Liam, this would be one of the biggest plot twists in SuperCoach Edge history. So
Yes, that's why I did it.
I'll play the Saw music right now. Call you Jigsaw.
Until it backfires on me and Neale scores 5.
No, because I actually want to have him as my captain, I think, or VC for my own team. So hopefully not. But okay, so I obviously can't go for Neale. Okay, let me scroll back up. I won't go for Dunks, I don't think. Just going to go for something different. Oh, it's between Bont and Dakes, I think, for me. I'll go for Zabont. I think he's due. He's Stewie. Much like Neale the previous week. I just think he's been in some good form. But I think there's an absolute blinder, I think, just up his sleeve that he's about to unleash. He did already against North Melbourne 2 weeks ago, but he can do it again. Surely. I don't know. It's between him and Dakes.
I'm looking ahead now because you've made me think about that.
Yeah, exactly. I had a look and Bont plays Sydney, so I'm like, who he actually averages quite well against, I must admit. So maybe that's a stupid choice, but okay, you know what? I'm switching. I'm going to be an idiot and switch, and it's going to backfire. I'm going to go for Dacos.
Okay,
Stupidly.
Nicholas Dacos, and I am going to go with. See, now I feel like you've jinxed me. If I go with Neale, if I don't go with Neale, no, my issue is if I don't go for Neale, Neale's going to go large, and then it's like I look like an idiot for not going with Neale.
Yep.
But now I feel like I've jinxed myself, and Neale's not going to go big. But then it's okay because I don't look like a fool.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Because you're
But
going to be
I
the
don't
more
want
popular.
to. I know who I want next week. I think.
Oh, you've already looked ahead. See, okay, you're embracing your true Jigsaw form.
I've got an idea of who I want next week. This is who it's actually between. It's between Merrett. I reckon Merrett's in for a big one, or Neale. And now I feel less risk with Neale, so I'm going to go with Neale.
Okay. Yep.
Locking it in, Neale, because I
Lock it
also
in.
feel like I'm going to look like a dickhead if I don't choose Neale. And your Dakes.
Yeah. I've actually had a look through as well, just quickly by the by. And if you have a look on Twitter, SuperCoach Data, if you're a member of his fantastic database that he puts together, gives you an early insight into live scores and whatnot for those people who don't know. But he's actually put up a post or a tweet most recently where he was looking at the best players that have the best performing super coaches in terms of their captaincy and VC choices. And I'm in 9th spot of all the people on Twitter. So I was pretty pleased with that.
Oh,
And
that's pretty good.
went through, so I'm averaging a 131. And my only downer is Laird, who scored a 50. Every other week, I've scored 100, and my lowest is 114.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so without Laird, I'd be averaging a 136, but
That's huge.
going quite well. But hopefully Dacos doesn't let me down here. But anyway, Liam, let's round it up because we do have a couple of questions potentially coming through, at least one come through. So we won't let it go by the wayside. We'll make it a quick segment, this one. And it is...
I got to know.
Hey, I got to know.
Very good. In I Gots to Know, we throw it open to you, the good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community. And we answer, I was just like quickly moving on. We answer your burning questions.
Very good. And you're like, yeah, okay, very good.
Very
Moving
good.
on.
Very good. I was thinking, I'm like, are you going to jump in here or should
Yeah,
I?
I wasn't sure.
And then I was thinking of like the, the a cappella that I still want to try. And,
No.
And you keep like turning me down.
We should get like, you know what we should do? We should try and get people, the listeners, to send in their I Gots to Know
Yeah, actually, that's
versions,
a good idea.
and we can, do a different one each week or merge them together.
Geez, that's amazing. And then we can be the backing vocals. We can be the a cappella with the actual pre-recorded track.
Yeah, I like this.
Because we need more than 2 voices. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Because then we can play it, them saying, and I can cut it up so it's and like stretch it out and then Gots to Know.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's it.
No, but that's a really good point though. Like, yeah. So if you're listening, you're watching, and you want to join in with our stupid, ridiculous intros of I Gots to Know in different, tones, feel free to send yours in. Send it via Twitter, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. And we'll feature it because I think we've said the I Gots to Know in every single which way that we can. So just to mix things up and give a voice to the people, as it were.
So please send it in. But yes, anyway, and I Got to Know, we answer your questions. The good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community, we throw it open to you and we answer anything you send in. We've got one question here from DSE fire emoji on Twitter at DSE_DSE_DSE. And Damon, I'm going to throw it to you. Their question is option A, trade Marshall to Mills this week. Hang on. Sorry. I've always found these hard to talk. All right. So trade Marshall to Mills and then upgrade Day, Shees, or Zeeble to Sicily next week with the cash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Or option B, bring in Clary this week or next week via Briggs. 6 trades left before trades. So 6 trades left. So they currently got 6 trades and 1 primo off a full team. Cheers.
Okay. So this is last primo upgrade virtually.
Yeah.
And then obviously a Day, Shees, or a Zeeble would be a luxury upgrade.
Yeah.
By the looks of that. Okay, first and foremost, I think with regards to Clary, and we mentioned it as well, that probably wouldn't feel safe trading him in before he's actually played his first game.
Yeah.
You mentioned it as well, Liam, that he may be managed in game or may even be subbed off depending on the state of the game if they want to sort of put him in cotton wool just to ease him back in. Keep in mind as well that it is a soft tissue injury, so he's been largely off his legs, hasn't had the same training load as he would if he was healthy. So I think his minutes at the very least will be managed. I was in that same scenario of potentially bringing in Clary off the back of Briggs. I've now bypassed that. I'm kind of at peace now with no longer potentially having Clary in my side. But at the very least, I think you'd want to see him play at least 1, if not 2 games to see how he is managed and how he scores. So I think that brings me to option A, and I'm probably more a fan of doing that. Marshall, whilst I think he is potentially still an R2 for the remainder of the year, if not an R1, although English probably has that wrapped up, I think there's merit in, because with these trades, you really need to think about it in terms of from here on out, who's going to score more. So Marshall and Mills, I think they could probably be on par with each other at the very least. And then with an upgrade of, Day, Sheasel, or Zeeble to a Sicily, that
Nets you more points.
Nets him more points, I think, overall. And then with the fact with Sicily, he's not returning from injury. He's coming off a suspension. So he's going to come full tilt. I think his break even is actually pretty gettable. So he could be even higher in price after the week that he returns. So yeah, I'm more of a fan of that. Although having said that, I think it does mean that he's going to have to keep Briggs off the back of that if he trades.
I'm assuming that Briggs is his is his R3. I'm just guessing based off the fact that he's trading Marshall and he's got Briggs as well.
Yep. So I would probably go with option A of the lot. I don't know. What about you, Lem?
Yeah, no, I agree. As much as I like Clary, and I'd want to get Clary back, I just don't trust him week one.
Yeah.
One, he might, even if he doesn't get subbed, he can be managed in game. You don't know if he plays a week, then gets a week off, all that kind of stuff. Like, I doubt that would be the case, but just them wanting to manage him. And obviously being concerned because it looks as though last week it seemed as though he's re-injured that hammy.
Yep.
As opposed to it just not being, I don't even know. To even trust their doctors anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But
he was listed at 1 to 2 weeks, I think. So there is a fair chance that he misses this week as well.
Yeah. So I lean towards one. I trade option A. I think overall you'll net yourself more points. And I think even with 4 trades left with that option, you're going to be ahead. Like, you've got 4 trades left for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's a fair amount.
And then at that stage, because that would be, we're in how many rounds are left after that?
Got 4 or 5 rounds or something.
So round 17 you would be down to 5 trades, and then round 18 you would be down to after round 18 you would be down to 4 trades. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds for the rest of the season after that with 4 trades. I think that's fine.
Yep. I think, and by that stage as well, it's almost like a trade every 2 weeks. So yeah, well within. You're right. So I guess you're within a good spot anyway. I think having 4 trades with 6 rounds to go, that's for sure.
And I think as well, the other thing that you have to consider is that waiting Briggs to Clary might not happen this week, and you've got to think about the points you're going to be missing by not making a trade that's going to net you more points. Both of those options option A, probably you don't see a massive deficit in points because obviously Sicily doesn't come in until next week.
Yep.
But overall, I think you're going to get more points out of that one than B at this stage. Yep.
Yeah, totally agree there. Well, thank you for sending in your question, DSE. And we also had a question come through on Facebook, but it is one that unfortunately we're unable to answer at the moment. And it has been sent in from Hugh Tolhurst, I think it was. Let me just have a quick squeeze. Yep, Hugh Tolhurst, please advise regarding likely DPPs after round 17. So there's been nothing in the media as yet that we've seen, but when the news comes to hand, we'll obviously talk about that potentially as soon as next week, because I think it's round 18, isn't it? They come in.
Yeah, round 18. So it'll be, coming in 2 weeks.
Yep. So we'll have a chat about it then and check back in. Because it'll be probably more of a bonus and for probably those people that are looking to bring in their last premos to upgrade to. Alrighty, Lem. So before we wrap things up, let's run through our SuperCoach Edge Cup group results after round 16.
Yes, our SuperCoach Edge Cup public group leader is not a new leader. It's 2nd week in a row. It's Adam with his team All Too Hard. And he had a round score of 2,673, mammoth score. And a total score of 36,333. And he is ranked overall 23rd, which was up from 44th last round. So consolidating his spot, which is very nice.
Well done. And top scorer for the round, it was Tim with his team Timbo Slice, round score 2,696. It's absolutely mammoth there. And a round rank of 53rd for the round.
Yes. Now let's move on to the Patreon exclusive group. And who else? Who else could it be other than Jonas Goat? T Prostitutes Inc. Yet again
Absolute
is
pest.
the leader. I love it. I love it. I'm here for this. Overall score 36,011. Round score of 2,533 and an overall rank of 166. Very
Cheers.
good
Well
there.
done, man.
Flying.
Absolutely
Top scorer, Damon.
flying. Yeah, top scorer was Matthew, Ton 618, who was your opponent in this matchup for the round, with a score of 2,656, which was that's a bit harsh, because high score like that, which you scored, you'd think, oh yeah, I'm within a chance, but he ended up scoring the biggest of the round, so hard to beat that one.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's move on to the Patreon exclusive SuperCoach Edge Cash League, and the results looked a little bit like this. Well, not a little bit, exactly like this. Dylan with his team Popper Ball FC scored 2,469, and he defeated Wade with his team Carps Crushers 2,331. Brett with his team the Sharpshooters scored 2,553, defeating Peter with his team Tankers 2,493. I with my team Church of Parish scored 2,539 and was defeated by Matthew with his team Ton 618 with his score of 2,656. And Damo, you scored 2,617 with your team DJ Trade a Lot, and you defeated Scott Arthur with his team Black on White 2,599. Close one, just 18 points there.
Yeah.
Nice win to you though.
Yes.
And it caused some chaos. There's some big movement. Not so much where you are, but some movement in the ladder.
There is some movement, and it did help as well with that high score, especially because it meant that I reclaimed top spot, because I lost it mid-round. The Sharpshooters, who are in second place, they went on top of me because we're both on 12 wins. He went on top with points scored during the round. At the end of the round, I ended up coming out on top. I'm ahead by around about 6, 7, 8, 70, 76, 77 points roughly. In third spot is Ton 618, who has gone up one spot and swapped spots with you, Liam.
Yes.
He's on 7 wins, and you are in fourth spot on 6 wins. Popperball FC is in fifth spot, also on 6 wins, with points scored the difference. Scott Arthur with Black on White in sixth spot, 6 wins also. Again, points scored is the main difference. And Carps Crushers, much the same, at 7th spot, 6 wins and points scored the difference. And then in the last spot, holding the ladder like the noble man that he is Peter, our father-in-law, with his team Tankers on the 5 wins. But it does show how close the league is, because there's 1 win separating your spot, Liam, fourth spot.
Yeah, 4th spot.
To potentially if Pete can win, it'll bump him right all the way up. But yeah, points scored, that's where that really does make the difference come the end of the year, given how close it is.
Yep. And interestingly, the ladder also replicates points scored.
Okay.
So points scored and the league points and the actual total points scored is both in order, which is a weird little quirk.
You really say that, do you?
Nice to see. It means that everyone's technically
winning
in
when they
the
should
place
win,
where they should be.
Yeah, and losing when they should lose. So
yeah,
I like that. There's merit to that. There is merit. There's a Zachary to that. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Nice little quirk to point out. But before we go, where can our listeners find us across our socials?
Yes, on YouTube, search SuperCoach Edge, and don't forget to like and subscribe. On Twitter, you'll find us at @supercoach_edge, Damon at DamonJ88, myself at Liam Evans_95, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, search SuperCoach Edge, and you'll find us there.
Very nice. Well, as always, as you mentioned, Liam, if you love the content we provide, whether it be podcast form, YouTube form, across our social channels, the little, memes that we put out and all that sort of stuff, make sure to let us know. You can do so via Twitter and whatnot, and give us a rating on the different podcast platforms. But also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and help us in our pursuit of hitting the 1K mark by the end of the season. Again, I think we're up to 852 at the moment. So we do need another 148 subscribers to hit that mark. And we've got how many weeks to go? This is round 17, is it? Well, 7-8 weeks to go.
Yeah.
So we do need as much support as we can get. So yeah, again, if you like what we do, give us a thanks, give us a repayment in the form of a sub. That would be awesome. But that's it for another episode. Thanks as always for tuning in, and we'll see you, and I'll see you, Liam, potentially on Thursday. Will you be able to join me again for our Thursday Team Sheets live stream?
Yes, I think I can.
Tentatively, we'll say yes. If not,
Yes,
then that's okay.
I'm pretty sure I can.
Break my heart.
But yes, I should be on more often at the very least. If not this round, I should be on much more often.
Oh, very nice. Well,
then,
hopefully I'll be seeing you then.
Let's see. Maybe next season we'll even get a Liam's team talks.
Oh, exactly. There has been calls for it. We saw on the live stream as well that people were pleasantly surprised.
I quite liked that. Quite liked being wanted.
Yeah, you are wanted. You're part of the crew. I wanted you. I've been wanting to have you on the live streams for a long while because I've just been rabbiting on talking to myself. And whilst the questions and comments come through, there's a barrage of them. And I feel like I'm snowed under half the time. And I'm like, Liam, help me. So it's good to have you on board anyway. So looking forward to that. If you can join me again.
More often.
Yeah. But anyway, with that, thanks as always for tuning in. All the best for the round ahead. And we'll catch you same time, same place. We'll see you then.
See you guys.